One of the issues that we do have, or I have, as a right leg amputee is a lack of plantar flexion and dorsiflexion, i.e. the ability to point your toes and bring your toes back up again. And when you're driving, especially when you're race driving, feeling through the pedals and adjusting, making finite adjustments is quite crucial. And also the ability to be able to get the pedals all the way down and all the way back up again. And you tend to lack that with a prosthetic leg. One of the first things that I needed to adjust on the vehicle was the fact that I couldn't get the pedal to the ground, which is obviously inhibiting when you're trying to get some speed out the vehicle. So the first modification we did was to build kiddie blocks, if you like, onto the pedals. So I put 2 aluminium rods, Jubilee clipped on, to raise the profile of the pedal. That meant I could get full depression of the pedal. The other issue we have is the lack of feeling of where your foot is in space, because for everybody else in their joints you've got thousands of little sensors and receptors that tell you where your joint is in space without having to look. So I automatically know where my left foot is and where my hands are without looking, whereas my right foot, I've got no clue where it is. So when you're in the cockpit and you're driving fast and bouncing around, that can become an issue. So what you don't want is a big clumsy trainer on and a big clumsy boot when you're driving, because you're more likely to make mistakes. So throughout the last event I drove with just a sock on the foot. What I've realised from that is that there is issues, and I need to make the foot even more narrower so that I'm not touching 2 pedals at a time or getting my foot indeed stuck between pedals, which happened on at least one occasion where the foot came off the accelerator, and because I don't know where it is, it's behind the brake, so you go to lift it off and all of a sudden you're rattling around. Which again, wouldn't necessarily be an issue if you were driving down the motorway because the car's nice and stable. But when you're rattling around and bouncing around, or even off the ground, as the car is at times, it can be an issue. So moving forward to the next event, I'm looking at modifying one of my old feet, if you like, and strip it down and then make it far more narrower, so it's far more precise. But also look at building a guard between the accelerator and the brake. So thereby, you definitely have to lift off one pedal to come back onto another, and you're not sliding it across and then got the danger of going underneath a pedal. So that's from a performance issue, but also from a safety point of view as well. I've been driving now for a while, about 7 years in a manual car. I've driven, I used to teach fast driving in my previous job. And I'm fairly comfortable with that. I do a lot of motorcycling as well. In fact, that's probably my #1 passion is motorcycles, and I do a lot of off-road motorcycling as well, on slightly adapted motorcycles. So I'm pretty much used to being in an environment where the mechanical thing that's underneath me is not necessarily nice and grippy and going in a straight line. It's sliding all over the place. It's really, the issue is about the precision and about getting those bends and getting those corners tighter and faster. Which again you have to really work on, because I'm not feeling through my feet. I'm using other senses, so I'm literally feeling everything through my body in terms of speed and acceleration, and visual. There's a lot of visual markers as well. Just actually seeing the ground moving quicker beneath you, feeling it going quicker beneath you rather than feeling it through the pedals. So that's the major learning, but it's more polishing because I'm used to driving like that anyway, in terms of driving a car daily on a daily basis. So on the racetrack or on an off-road track, you just need to take it up that one extra notch, and understanding when you are rattling around and your feet are rattling around and the car's airborne and landing and bouncing all over the place, is accepting the fact that you're not going to be as good as an able-bodied person who knows where their feet are and can quickly put them back on the pedals. So that is, albeit, it didn't hold us back on the day. We did manage to set some pretty hefty times.